Muchachos, muchachos. All right, let's talk about this debacle going on about The Sound of Freedom. For those of you that don't know, Sound of Freedom is a movie about child trafficking. Oh, and by the way, I know I sound out under the weather. I am, but that's not why I have not been posting videos lately. I have actually been allocating all of my energy in this long-awaited project. And finally, there are a lot of things happening in the background I'm very excited about. If you guys are interested to learn more, you guys can go to countertraffickingalliance.com and volunteer, hit the volunteer button. I actually need outreach volunteers. So if you are an outreach volunteer, if you're cool with calling, emailing, things like this, I can definitely use your help. So countertraffickingalliance.com, volunteer. I'm also looking for writers. I'm looking for, good people who are good at organization, like project managers, things like that. But right now at the most immediate need, we need outreach volunteers. Anyway. So that has been working in the background. Okay. With that, there's a lot going on with that launching, but Sound of Freedom recently debuted, and it's waking a lot of people up about child trafficking and this epidemic of human trafficking. And it's one of the first of its kind of these type of movies, right? I think the most immediate movie to come to mind that is about human trafficking is probably Taken. But when it comes to child trafficking, this is the first of its kind. And I think that is so important because already there's a lack of awareness and education. So if a movie can get people started on talking about that sort of, that sort of education, I think that's phenomenal. It's a start, right? And so recently there has been a sharp pivot in the narrative surrounding this movie. A lot of people listen, I'm not saying all conspiracy theories are bad, right? Because we explore a lot of them here on this channel. We actually do deep dives. We do extensive work, dismantling and proving and parking, right? Sometimes we can't prove everything, so we'll just park it, right? We're not saying it's true. We're not saying it's false. We're just parking it. But people, especially in this day and age, in people awakening and finding truth, and oh my gosh, I didn't know this was happening. What they'll do is they will jump to it drives me crazy. They will jump to conclusions. They will slander, and they will utilize something sensational as fact, even though it might not be fact. It might not be factual. People just flippantly, sling these slanderous lies about people because it's sensational. So there's been like a recent tribal, a tribal movement of slander that has been onslaughted. Look, you guys, the mainstream media already, like Rolling Stone, The Guardian, The Washington Post already don't like this movie. They don't want people to go watch this movie. Okay. They said that it's a seductive movie. Why is America seduced by this movie? And stupid stuff like QAnon infused movie. Like, no, this is not QAnon. This is literally a movie about child trafficking. Okay. There's no left, right. There's no political affiliation, nor is there any movement that is just part of this movie. It is just about the crime, the horrible, heinous crime of child trafficking. We need to think about it as simple as that. Now, did a certain movement bring attention to it? Yes. Okay. I agree with that, but that actually makes them look better. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, like, the mainstream media already hates this. So then when you see the right, the conservative people saying, oh, sensational, this and that this person's a human trafficker or all these things. And so the whole movie is discredited. Is just wild to me. I'm actually going to chime in on some commentary on my friend's video. Ian Went, I think he summarized this pretty well. He actually expressed a lot of the sentiments that I have about these people. And I also have some 2 cents to add. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. I think he put this beautifully, and I'm going to add I'm going to pause and add my commentary.
what I'm seeing is absolutely bananas. I mean, I wish I could say I'm surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised that people are being completely misled and talking about things that they don't understand simply because it's a talking point. That I'm not surprised about at all. But I'm blown away at the amount of people that are trying to discredit this whole situation. So let me break this down for you guys. Tim is a friend of mine, a good friend. Him and his family are friends of mine.
And he's talking about Tim Ballard from Operation Underground Railroad, which is the anti-trafficking NGO that, has a mission of rescuing children, right? Now, there have been, and let me give you guys a little bit more context as well before we go further. What even spurred all of this, onset this type of commentary from Ian is there might be other influencers that did this very thing, but there was one influencer in particular that I saw that said very similar things that he's mentioning, that's at that basically by conservatives raving about this movie in which he himself is, I would say, filed under the conservative, or at least he had a run in the conservative movement, especially during the 𝘏𝘏𝘮 and the planned apocalypse and all that, right? But this particular influencer was saying that if you conservatives are raving about this movie, it's basically like the black square of BLM. Like, how back in 2020, everybody took to Instagram to post a black square to be in unison with the BLM movement. He's saying that it's equivalent to that. So that's why Ian is so frustrated, because he's like, what? So anyway, and that influencer went on to break other things down, like who financed this film and who's involved in all these things. And then he also mentioned Tim Ballard, which is the founder of OUR. And he asked, like, where are the records of the victims? Who's coming out to say that they were saved by Tim Ballard and all these things? He's going to get into that part. I just wanted to give you guys some context before we go even further. Okay, so you guys are loaded.
I know them personally. I've been involved with helping the organization of OUR for a really long time too. And I can tell you right now, and I don't really care if you believe me or not. Like, if you don't believe me and you think whatever you think, like, it doesn't matter, but I'm just going to explain.
Here's the thing too, like, a lot of people like Eliza Blue messed this up for a lot of people, where, you genuinely do volunteer and you genuinely have been an advocate for so long in the anti-human trafficking space. And, now people, especially like people on the internet and trolls, well, I mean, I understand, because people are like, well, are you legitimate? Right. But a lot more people are, it's a lot more adamant to provide that sort of proof and provide your receipts that you were in fact involved with combating, human trafficking, child trafficking for all these years. So that's probably why he's like, I don't care if you don't believe me.
Not only are they doing something that no one else is willing to do or would even consider doing, but on top of that, they are getting more hate from both sides than you can possibly imagine. Right. And the fact is, I honestly, when I started thinking about this, I don't even know where to start, because it just blows my mind. Guys, there is a movie out right now that is bringing more awareness to child trafficking than anything has in the history of the world. Right. Like, it's on the main stage and it's selling out theaters all.
And let me also chime in and say that to the contrary of this, it's actually the person going to a human trafficking education awareness seminar, right? That would be available in your local city. That would be the alternative to to people first learning about human trafficking, or content online. But everybody knows to go to the movies, right? So that's why he's saying this is like the first thing or the first of its kind to hit the theaters and actually wake normies up.
All over the country. My in-laws in Canada, right, are the one theater one of the main theaters in Calgary, every single showtime for 5 days straight was sold out. That's unheard of. And it beat out Disney's film. Now, something a lot of you guys probably don't know too is Disney had the rights to this film for a long time. And they literally promised that they were going to shelf it and that it would never see the light of day.
That makes sense.
Why do you think that is?
That makes sense because it's Disney.
They finally lost the rights, and when they were able to release this film, Disney released Indiana Jones in an attempt to crush Sound of Freedom, to make sure that it didn't see the light of day.
By the way, they also did the movie industry. I want to illustrate this point because this is what trolls are saying. It's Hollywood. Of course they're showing this movie because, these people are embedded with Hollywood, saying that the Sound of Freedom is part of Hollywood. No, the thing is, like, there are films that are being competed against, like Nefarious, for instance. Nefarious got crushed at the box office because the movie industry did not want this type of movie being seen. Even the rating was a bit extraneous on Nefarious, for instance. It was rated R, and really it wasn't a rated R movie. It was like a PG-13 movie, okay, at best. And the movie industry does not like movies like this that expose truth. Okay, Nefarious is more spiritual purposes, but child trafficking, right? The movie industry tried to compete with it. Disney tried to compete with it with Indiana Jones. And so that should give you some sort of context clues that, hey, no, Hollywood is not embedded with this movie, okay? Disney wanted to shelve it for 5 years.
And yet, with all of the awareness and the good things that this is creating, you still have people that are so incredibly brainwashed and ridiculous that you're focusing on some dude who had ties to Clintons and Gates 10 years ago that apparently now is part of the WEF, and this is one big conspiracy to put microchips in kids. Like, bro, are you freaking kidding me right now? Not everything is something.
Dude, and it is just it is so crazy. You know that a lot of people, listen, I'm going to say something a little bit harsh. I think you guys can take it, and I think a lot of people are going to know what I'm talking about. A lot of these narratives are being spawned from controlled opposition, you guys. Paid provocateurs, people who get money from these bigger entities and intelligence agencies and things like this. Like, people do, like, it's crazy to me, and it's quite ironic that people know that there's puppeteering by the government and puppeteering by the media and all these things, but they never think that it can be close to home, where there's literally these influencers who sensationalize these narratives and make it go viral. He's actually going to touch on this, but imagine a movie, like, it's just, I share the same, like, shock and appall for how what this is doing. This is a movie on child trafficking, and the left and the right, like, and the right side that is attacking this movie is not organic. It's not an organic attack. Okay. These are people who are provocateurs. And then there are people who have the intelligence, that of a shoelace, that believe the provocateurs' propaganda. Okay. And then they provoke attack on well-meaning patriots and people who actually do work, who do boots on the ground. Why? Because they lack emotional and actual intelligence. Okay. So it's like, you got to really think, like, you really think that this is organic, that these attacks are organic? They're not.
And everyone that is talking about this, you look like idiots, and you're only helping.
You do. Yeah.
The people that don't want this film to be seen.
Exactly.
You're helping them.
Exactly.
You are currently,
like, imagine that you're Like, you're on the same side of Rolling Stone, you're on the same side of The Guardian and the Washington Post and Slate and literally the magazine Jezebel, okay, who were all talking about, you guys are QAnon, assimilated people for liking this movie. Okay. Mike Clee, who is the author or the journalist for Rolling Stone, who said, this movie is for dads with brainworms. Child trafficking, dude. Literally child trafficking. And I've seen so many excuses under the sun. Well, yeah, it was about child trafficking, but it wasn't about child trafficking American kids. It's like, you guys, I have never seen any patriot, okay, that actually are complaining about this. I have not seen them with the history of raising money for a self-funded film, okay? I'm talking about the patriots that are complaining. If you're complaining, you better have a Give, Send, Go or a GoFundMe out there that is raising funds for your own self-funded independent film, okay? It's always people who are doing nothing that do this. Imagine being on the same side as Rolling Stone and all of these other pedophiles that are, advocating to not see the film.
Only the useful idiot. Every single one of you. And I don't care who I offend. Quite frankly, I don't care. Because that's who you are and that's what you are. That's what you're doing. You are being used. You are 100% being used. And all the people are like, well, you think this would be allowed to get by? No, they fought for 7 years to get this past the gatekeepers. 7 years. And then when they finally got a chance to release it, it was released in 2,600 theaters only, so less than half of what movies are normally allowed to be released in, with a budget that is laughable. And so, do I think that they would want this to be released and allow it to be released? No, I think they did everything possible to make sure it wasn't released. And then once it was, they only gave them enough to barely have a chance to even get it out there. What happened is that it caused a mass awakening in people from every walk of life who finally saw this for what it is.
Yeah. And
it created the movement that all of us who, by the way, have seen this film years and years ago. I saw this years ago. And the minute that I saw the film, I immediately thought, this is going to create a movement. If they get this out at the right time. And by the way, one of the reasons why this got shut down earlier is because they didn't want it to be linked to QAnon. They didn't want the QAnon nutcases to hijack this film and make it something about them. They wanted to make sure that it got released in a way that it wouldn't.
I can see some of his points. I mean, what I will say, it was a lot of the Anons that brought this to the surface, which is why, a lot of this even got known. I'll be honest, I credit a lot of the Anons for spreading the news on sex trafficking headlines and the actual subject, okay? But I can also see his point. There are those crazed influencers out there that will take any theory, right, and run with it as fact. I completely understand where he's going, because that actually drives me crazy, because it's like, don't harm the anti-trafficking industry by making us all look crazy. Prove your stuff. And that's what we did at this channel. We did deep dives and really going through these subjects, and I mean, I partly agree, partly I have to give credit to Anons for spreading the news. I just wanted to chime in.
Matter what side of the aisle you were on. That the only thing that would matter was that our kids are being attacked and trafficked and abused in ways that are unthinkable.
Yeah.
Things that are indescribable are being done to children.
Yeah.
And yet you idiots are out there making it easier for this to happen.
I'm sorry to get graphic, but I genuinely believe that your heart needs to be disturbed enough to really paint this into perspective. Just think that by preventing someone else from seeing this movie with your doomerist attitude and with these conspiratorial crazy thoughts that that don't take away from the movie. By the way, the movie is still a great movie. It's still talking about child trafficking. It's talking about the process of trafficking and what horrors that children have to go through. Okay. In fact, that movie might even look pretty to what actual child trafficking in real life looks like. Okay. I know it's based on a true story, but that is a produced movie. But it can definitely lead a person down that path of realizing how horrific this industry is. Imagine like, this is genuinely waking people up. And when you forbid from somebody from seeing this movie, think that you are forbidding one child from possibly getting noticed, one child that possibly is getting held against their will, a child that is possibly being held hostage. Okay, a child that you could possibly recognize signs in. Okay, like by doing this and creating this false narrative, okay, you are really doing a lot of damage, because a lot of people in the anti-trafficking industry consider this a good thing, that this message is actually getting out.
You're extinguishing a fire before it ever has a chance to burn.
Right.
Period. And I literally don't care who I offend. Everybody's like, "Oh, I've been doing my research." No, you haven't done your research. You're literally just listening to the talking heads on social media. And yes, I know that sometimes I'm one of those talking heads, but the difference between me and them is that I go to the source and I wait. I don't just jump. Like literally, this is the I can't even believe that I'm having this conversation with people. I can't even believe that I'm seeing people try to discredit this movie.
I know.
For all of the good things that it's doing.
I have the same sentiments.
I can't even believe it. And I'll tell you this too. There are people that are like, "Well, where's the money going? Is Tim making the money?" I'll tell you the truth. If Tim was making every single penny that this movie brought in, I would support it even more. Because he's out there in the trenches rescuing children from the most vile and evil and dark places and people in this world on a daily basis. And he deserves more money than anyone on this planet. A lot of you guys are so willing to support athletes that make $30 million a year for shooting a basketball.
Right.
But when someone is saving children from being trafficked, you question why they're making money for it.
And I love that point that he makes, because let me say that let me even put it in this perspective. It's a movie, guys. This is a movie. This movie was not ever promoted as this is a charity piece. Okay, this is a bake sale. Okay, like we're just doing this movie for. They never promoted this movie as a bake sale or as a charity piece. They promoted it as a movie for awareness. You guys, like get that clarified in your head. This is not a movie for charity, okay? Now, what they did do, what Sound of Freedom and Angel Studios did do, was they opened up an opportunity for people to pay it forward and create free tickets to go see the movie. Why? Because it is about awareness, guys. This is a movie. I don't care. Like, they should profit off this movie. So what? It's a movie. Movies are businesses. They should profit. I hope they profit even more off this movie. I hope they make more movies. You understand? Like, the profits of this are probably going to the production crew and the actors. Like, this isn't rocket science. This is a movie, guys. Where are the funds going to the movie crew? What do you think? It's a movie. It's the movie industry. How many times have we have been dreaming of a biblical biblical believing people, biblical principle believing people is what I'm trying to say, trying to take the industry, our side actually having influence over the culture, okay? Our side finally having a chance at culture, and then it's like we cannot take a minuscule W, bro, because you believe controlled opposition, paid provocateur accounts that slander patriots, that slander people who are actually boots on the ground, who will never peel, I'm going to say it, who will never peel their ass off the couch to do things themselves. You believe them over people who are actually doing work. It's a movie. Let them, yes, I say profit off the movie and make more movies, please. This is insane. This is insane. Nobody came for the movie Taken. Okay. Nobody doomed for the movie Taken. Nobody said, oh, that movie Taken, it was produced by this and they're tied to this person, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure that there's a lot more connections there. Nobody talked about that movie. And I made this point on Twitter. The people that are complaining about this movie, let me find out that they went to go see The Flash, starring Ezra Miller, who was an alleged sexual predator, right? Who allegedly started preying and grooming this girl starting when she was 12 years old, allegedly by her parents. That's her parents' account. Okay. Let me find out any one of these critiquers went to go see that movie. What? And then here's the thing, how can we control every single economic piece of our lives, right? This microphone, the camera that I'm using, the external monitor that I have right here. By the way, this is an external monitor. People make up conspiracy theories that, are you okay? I'm looking at an external monitor. My gosh, okay? The external monitor, my car, your car, everything touches something probably, or is manufactured or financed by somebody that we do not agree with. So are you going to sell your car? Are you going to sell, your prized possessions because they're financed, seed started by people you don't agree with? Guys, rub two brain cells together. This is crazy.
Are you kidding me? Is that a joke? Can you see how ridiculous you look and sound? Do you have any idea? Once again, I know Tim. I know OUR. I've seen their operations. I've seen what they're doing. Well, there's no proof. They're not going to release proof of survivors. Guys, they can't.
100,000%. Let me let him finish his statement.
They can't release that information. Why would you think they can? It's like the freaking witness protection. They're not going to tell people who these people are and where they are. They're not going to tell you where their aftercare facilities are. Why in the world would you think that's a thing?
Let me say 100,000% spot on. Okay. Survivors, victims who are exiting the life, who are exiting the game, okay, when they're coming out that industry, honey, they are in literal survival mode, okay? Number one, can you imagine the most daunting task of leaving a pimp or a trafficker that threatens your life, that has threatened the lives of your family members if you ever leave, who probably have your prized possessions, who probably, just put yourself in this scenario, who probably got you addicted to drugs. Can you imagine the daunting task of leaving a person who has trauma bonded you, who has traumatized you and fear-based coerced you? Could you imagine that task? And I bet a lot of you cannot. But you want to know where these survivors are going? You want to know where these people flee a life, you guys. They flee bad actors. They flee pimps and traffickers that have beat them, that have stolen from them, that have intimidated them, that is probably still trying to intimidate them. I know survivors that had to change their number like 3 to 5 times. Okay? This is a daunting thing. What in the hell makes you think that anybody's going to release a survivor's name to you, or that a survivor's going to pop up like a daisy and say, "Hi, I was rescued by Tim Ballard or whatever. I was rescued by this or that organization." They're not going to do that because they're fleeing their trafficker, bro. Like, I just genuinely, I mean, listen, let me calm down. Let me woosah and have a little grace that a lot of people just don't have the human trafficking knowledge, you know, or the education. All right. Maybe it's that, but it's like what you don't know, you decide to act on anyway. And you decide to slander people based on something you have no idea about. It's just wild to me.
Why? Well, Tim's a Freemason.
Wild.
Half of you people talking about Freemasonry don't even know what Freemasonry is or what it's about anyway. So there's that. There's far more to that than you can possibly imagine. And Tim is not a Freemason, but whatever. The other thing is, you talk about 𝘐𝐽𝐴𝑍𝑢𝐿. Why would 𝘐𝐽𝐴𝑍𝑢𝐿 be talking about adrenochrome if he was part of some crazy grand scheme with the WEF? Why? Why in the world?
It's just like on top of that, it's like they are trying to cancel this movie. You guys saw Rolling Stone, all these mainstream media outlets, right? Okay, like downing this movie. And then people decide to jump on that side as well and down this movie. You didn't stop to think for a second that, you know, I'm aligning with the left on this issue. I'm aligning with these enablers, right? With these headlines. I'm aligning with them. Maybe there's controlled opposition that put me there. You didn't think that?
Most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. You people are literally allowing yourselves to be used to discredit the only momentum that this issue has ever had like this. They want to extend this in theaters for 10 days. They're pushing to extend it in theaters for 10 more days because of how good it's doing. Do you realize what that does? You have people walking away from this wanting to get involved. You have people walking away from this saying, I never understood what this is about and what's going on. I never understood. Well, what about Carlos Slim? Bro, do you know how many people have brushed shoulders with the Gates and the Clintons? They're literally some of the most prominent figures in this planet. Eventually, good people and bad people are going to cross paths. Hell, I literally got involved with somebody who's getting sued for millions and millions and millions of dollars for scamming people out of money. I spoke at their event not knowing who they were. I shook hands with them not knowing what they were doing. So does that make me by fault? Am I by proxy stealing money from everybody?
I love this point that he's making because this is exactly the tactic that controlled opposition right now. There are infiltrators in the movement, by the way. There are infiltrators in the truther movement trying to inject these crazy theories and make everybody else look crazy. But this is one of the tactics that they use, is that they will use the guilt by association, you know, thing where if you're pictured or you were in the same room of this person and there's shapes and, you know, triangles and circles and you know what I mean? Like they'll make anything, any narrative. If you were caught with the same person at any point of time, number one, they believe that there's no room for evolve or change. Like either they think that you're the same person forever, right? Like you could never evolve or change or realize after the fact that, oh, wait, this person was like that. I had no idea. Oh, wait, this person said that. I had no idea. Right. Like this is what people do, especially these people who are propagating this whole narrative.
And scamming everybody out of their business? No. Guess who else shook hands with Epstein? Trump. Donald Trump shook Epstein's hand. And
let me say, okay, and I'm a Trump supporter. Don't care if you don't like it or not. I'm a Trump supporter, okay? Trump donated money to the Clinton Foundation at one point, okay? Doesn't take away from him evolving and changing and realizing and calling everything out, right? And I know a lot of you in the comments, you and your fantasies and your worship. Ain't nobody worshiping Trump, but I can realize that he was a good leader and he actually did something for human trafficking. Okay. But he at one point donated $100,000. I think it was like $100,000 to the Clinton Foundation. Now, does that make him evil for doing that? No, he evolved. He changed. He actually was one of the only informants for the Epstein case. He was the only one who provided information. One of the least, I should say, that provided information on that. Okay? He evolved. It's just crazy. Like, nobody can brush shoulders with billionaires, right? Especially pre-awakening period, right? Like, a lot of people, including myself, and a lot of people are going to act and pretend like they were awake for a long time. But in reality, a lot of people were asleep. A lot of people were not as assiduous to our world as we see it today, back in the day, right? So these billionaires were doing their thing and they were brushing, shoulders with people. Okay. And we didn't know the people that they brushed shoulders with, whether they knew what they were doing or not.
So all you Trumpers out there, does that mean the Trump's involved with Epstein?
Exactly.
Wake up. Not everything is something.
Not everything is something.
Could it possibly be that this is just one of those times?
I love this part.
When something
good
actually took place.
That's right.
And the result came from it that no one expected, but that everyone needed. Could it be that there's a chance that good is having a chance to triumph over evil?
God's timing.
For once.
God's timing.
All of you people that freak out about child trafficking, all you people that yell and scream from the rooftops about something must be done. Something's being done and you're crushing it. A ship has been built and you're busting holes in it before it ever has a chance to sail. It's unreal to me. It's absolutely unreal.
Me too. It is to me too.
And no one knows. Everyone that says that they know, no one knows.
Yeah, they don't. I love that point that he makes. They don't. I can say that with confidence. A lot of people who think they know what they're talking about have no idea what the hell they're talking about, okay? Like, people marry themselves to these theories that they cannot prove. Well, I did my research on that. You didn't do research. You were looking at an account on Instagram or on Twitter that is sensationalizing this idea and you believed it. Okay? Be honest about it. Okay? At least say that. I was looking at an account and he was saying these things and it seemed convincing. And so I just fell into it and I believed it. That's what you did. You didn't do all this research. All of a sudden, all you guys, you're so talented. All of a sudden, all of you guys are researchers and you came up with the same theory? Interesting.
He's a Freemason because he's Mormon. I'm Mormon. Fun fact. I'm not a Freemason. I believe in Jesus Christ. Social media has gotten to a place where everything has been so sensationalized that people are literally willing. I mean, dude, I could literally tell everybody tomorrow that Bill Gates is putting cyanide in your Cheerios and everyone would boycott Cheerios that knows me.
Yep. Could you imagine?
That's
how easy it is to shift a narrative nowadays on social media. Like, you can literally sensationalize one thing. It might not be true. Example, you guys are going to get mad at me. Silent children theory, an open secret. They can't prove that. They never came out with documentation, but people are willing to believe one tweet. One tweet. And people to this day, oh, well, Chris and Chester Bennington were making a documentary on, okay, but I asked for financial expenditure information. Sound of Freedom doesn't want to release it. They don't want to release the movie, script or the description. And but y'all believe that just that one tweet, just because there's so much faith in one sensationalized thing that might not be true. Imagine that. Like, really break your consciousness on that.
That's how real this is now. It takes one thing to go viral for every single person to jump on it. I can't tell you how many people have hit me up about, oh, I've seen this. Is Tim Ballard a Freemason? Oh, I saw this. Is the Sound of Freedom a grand scheme to put microchips in kids? Bro, kids have phones. They don't need a microchip. You can literally track them right now.
And how would that even work? Like, I've seen that theory. Like, what is that saying? Now, if there is, and we know end of days, revelations, the mark, all these things, like, there is definitely a plan to do that. Like, they are going to do that, right? How exactly do you illustrate that kids are going to get chipped through this movie? I don't understand that piece genuinely.
If you are discrediting this film, if you are trying to sow doubt in people's minds about seeing this film, just understand that you are helping pedophiles. You are helping people abuse children.
A lot of people don't want to think to that extent. Like, no, I'm not. I'm just calling out a movie for what it is. No, my dear. No, dearly beloved. You literally, legitimately are helping and enabling these bad actors to get away with this by putting people by encouraging people to be in the dark about it. That's what this is. That's what I say. This is controlled opposition. You can believe me or not. I know this is controlled opposition, okay? This is Satan at work, puppeteering paid provocateurs who took money from these bigger agencies, these intelligence agencies, to push this narrative. And yes, it is closer than just the mainstream media. There are little micro influencers out there that are pushing these little narratives and sensationalizing it. And by you being a pawn and believing something so ridiculous like this, and it's like, okay, like, it's like these things that people are claiming about the producers of this movie and all these things. Does this movie promote a good message? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are there movies out there that have been produced by Hollywood, like actual Hollywood, that actually have good messages? Okay, like, what was that movie with Will Smith and his kid? I can't remember the name of it. Joy was a good movie with Jennifer Lawrence. I love that movie. It's a come up story. Okay. Does it have a good, hopeful message? Yeah. Okay. Are there good inspirational movies out there that are produced by Hollywood? Yes. Same concept. Okay. If this stuff is true about these people, you guys were not going hard about all these other things, deep diving all these other movies. Child trafficking, though, really think for yourself. Is this controlled opposition? All of a sudden, all these movies for all of history in the movie business. Okay. But this one movie about the most important topic that never gets talked about or gets talked down about by the mainstream media. Now pawns are coming upon it and downing it.
Children. You are helping them hide.
You are. No doubt.
You are helping them stay in the dark.
You are. You're helping them stay in the dark.
You are extinguishing the light that is finally being shown on them.
Because I guarantee you, by deterring people from seeing this movie because controlled opposition and narratives, I guarantee you're not going to educate them on child trafficking thoroughly. You're not going to educate them on the things that happen on the background, like, the assessments and these things. That you're not going to do all that because people are lazy. You're lazy enough to believe this lie and these sensationalized narratives. You're lazy enough to do that. You're going to be lazy enough to not thoroughly educate that person. This movie at least illustrates what a form of child trafficking is. This is just one scenario in Latin America.
And there's so much more to it that you have no idea. So many of you have no idea what you are doing.
No.
But I will tell you this too, and it's something I'm extremely disappointed in. But a lot of the people that have posted, it's their thing. Like they're just it has to be a post. It's going to get engagement. Thousands and thousands of comments and shares. Of course, it's going to get engagement. You got to do it.
It's sensationalized. It's sensational. It's sensational. You just have to you have to be controversial about something. But the one thing that you decide to be controversial about is about child trafficking that didn't have enough. And I guarantee you the person who posted about this doesn't know squat about this type of stuff. In thoroughness. You don't know thoroughly about child trafficking and, interacting with survivors and aftercare education. And, you don't know. But it's easy enough to type up a narrative and to be sensational about what you want to talk about on Twitter. Just draft it up, right? On with your thumbs. Easy to be sensational for clicks and for shares. And that's what this person did.
I'm blown away. Like I can't even believe that I'm seeing what I'm seeing. Like it is wild, man. It is freaking wild. Everyone that's out there saying, well, this couldn't be real because they would never allow this to happen, blah, blah, blah. Once again, guys, they didn't allow anything to happen. This happened against all odds. And it's because of us. It's because of people who have some sense of morality left that said, this is something that needs to see the light of day. And against all odds, this film has not only crushed the box office, it crushed Disney. And it is currently still crushing the box office. And it's not because of some grand conspiracy to push this film. It's because people are standing up because they see what we are dealing with. Okay? Women have already basically been eliminated. Think about that for a minute, okay? Women are now birthing people.
Right. Women
are now demonized if they disagree with the fact that a man is trying to take their position in a sport or pretend to breastfeed children. That's a reality now. Okay? Women have been taken out of the equation. And they are slowly trying to take the children out of the equation.
Yesterday in California. Now, what he's talking about is real truth. Yesterday in California, SB 14 was blocked from being passed. And this bill in particular heightened the criminalization of, people trafficking children, of child trafficking. It got blocked. Why would... And finally, fast forward today, there was this, I was surprised that they actually passed it. There was an emergency vote, revote, and it passed right today. But yesterday I was shocked that it actually got stopped and blocked. There were lawmakers that actually did not vote for this legislation. So that just tells you right there what I'm going to actually pull up who didn't vote. Let me actually pull this up. It would be a good education piece. Bonta and Bryan did not vote in California for SB 14. So Representative Bonta, Representative Bryan in California who didn't vote, that should illustrate to you that there are people in this government that are willing to allow this heinous crime to happen to the most vulnerable little people in our society. Okay, that illustrates to me that there are willing individuals in your governmental agency that are willing to let children hurt and be hurt by sick adults. his point is so spot on. They're already trying to eliminate women and call us all these other things, blah blah blah. It's, you know, but and it's progressing so fast. But this push for the children, oh, Betty, you better believe it's coming. And I really hope to God it's never one of your children. Okay. So by you deterring people from getting at least an illustration of what child trafficking is, getting to know that first instance of child trafficking by illustration of a movie, you really ought to prepare to be the educator of what child trafficking is.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they're trying to sexualize children? Why do you think they're trying to get it to the point where children don't know who they are, what they are, where they come from? Why? Why would that be happening? Why would they try to eliminate women and children, and then at the same time, masculinity and men? Why? I can tell you. But it's pretty obvious.
It's a whole war. So anyway, I think you guys get the point. I think we've driven the point over and over again about this whole thing. This has been about an hour, okay, of commentary. I just found it very important to comment on this because I do find it vile and I find it egregious that there are people willing to take money to push these narratives that will hurt things like this movement. I don't think this movement's stopping. This movement is not stopping. God has ordained this time to finally wake up a generation about trafficking. I 100% in my heart believe that. I believe that 100%, that God has ordained and chosen this specific time to wake up the masses about trafficking, not just children. That is the most important, but also adults, right? That face horrific scenarios. Okay. Children are the first priority, but adults are also facing horrific situations in trafficking. And I do believe we are the generation that is going to wake up in mass and we are going to do something about it. This is not going to stop anything, but what it is illustrating is that there are people out there that are willing to take money and clout to deter people from knowing, just so that way they can get the sensational conspiracy out. Now, it's not stopping, okay? But I just had to call that out for what it is. Anyway, guys, I don't care who I offend. I mean, this is a whole new, I don't care. I didn't care before, but even more so because this is the territory that I've been working in, you know, in outreach and ministry. I don't care what anybody thinks. Okay. I have my opinions and I'm rightful to my opinions. I'm gonna keep having my opinions. These people are dorks. Okay. They are vile for encouraging this narrative. All right. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.